Oh, good Monday morning. How are we all doing? Monday, come on. This is a good day typically for real estate agents, right? We're busy over the weekend. We're showing houses. We're writing offers. Anybody get anything accepted? Maybe that's why we're quiet. Nobody had anything. We got offers in. You want to talk about an offer that we got in? Did anybody work this weekend? You guys are all muted. Okay. I had a productive weekend playing around some AI stuff that can be fun, but can be super frustrating. Just trying to build out, make sure we've got enough content for the year. Trying to organize the content so that we've got little bits of topics that kind of run monthly, quarterly, weekly topics in case you guys don't have anything. So, first thing I wanted to just promote a little bit is we are doing the Ultimate Database Builder training tomorrow. That's Tuesday at 2. We're going to try and keep them on Tuesdays at 2. They're not going to be every Tuesday at 2, but figured it'd start with database. Um, I know I did a terrible job of promoting this, so if you can't make it, we'll record it. But would love to have you on. Kind of just want to talk about some of the foundational stuff regarding databases, why they're important, how we can build them up. There's some definitely some tools with AI that we can take advantage of if your database stinks to make it a little bit better. So we will touch on that. But once we've got that database kind of level set, then all right, what are the daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly things that we can do to start to communicate with those? Again, trying to see where we can take advantage of some AI stuff to make sure that this stuff is happening. What are we doing? Are we doing smart lists? Are we doing tasks to keep it in order? But man, a database is the most important part of your business. So I figured I would make this module one. So that'll be tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll be putting the final touches on that today. So excited for that. But the topic that I had for you guys today um, was around, so there wasn't really any real estate news headlines over the weekend. I took a quick look. Although Redfin and Zillow, like, that was the only thing I came up with, is Redfin and Zillow both had some significant layoffs. They didn't release any kind of numbers that I could find. Um, but I know, with the Redfin model. So if you guys aren't familiar with Redfin, they were on a model where they had employees. So the agents were on salary. You got little overrides or bonuses when you closed a deal. But they tried that for like a decade. It really didn't work, and they've now gone back to commission based. So they generate leads off of their website, they hand them out to their agents. You can do your own personal business. So very similar to what we run on our flex model, right? So for agents that can't generate enough of their own business, this is a supplement to your business. So interesting. It wasn't agents, it was staff that they laid off. I just, when you're not doing as many transactions, I think that's just kind of the natural order of things. But the topic that I had for you guys today was around inspection challenges. And specifically, as I was kind of building out, give me something specific to talk about each day, would be specialized inspection challenges. So is that jogging anybody's kind of memory? Anything going on with a specialized inspection, meaning um, pool inspection or Title V or termite. So some of the stuff beyond normal home inspection. Anybody have anything recently? Did you learn something? Hey, I did this type of an inspection, some sort of a water test, an air test, a mold test. What do you guys have out there? Something that you could maybe, Wendy.
It's a past sale of mine, just a dock seawall test. So they had to go, underwater and do a scuba and take a look.
Oh, okay. I've never even heard of that. So I want to learn a little bit more. So this is a waterfront property that's got a
Yep.
seawall, and then you're checking the seawall to make sure that that is not going to collapse, basically.
Well, yeah, just condition, material, that type of thing, because this was in Fort Lauderdale, but there's, I forget the name of it. It's, I want to say corrugated, but it's the newer type of seawall. If I saw it, I could show it to you, but terrible. But anyway,
That's okay.
it was an experience. It was a waterfront. The guy had a 50-foot cat. He needed to park it, behind his house. So it was a lot off of, a house off of the point lot. So we did the inspection, make sure that the dock was sound, underwater, the posts and everything were good to go. I don't remember anything specific coming off of that other than just the reassurance to the buyer.
How much are we talking for something like that?
Oh gosh, I can't even recall. Maybe a few $100 or so. I mean, I can look in my emails and stuff and try to find
Yeah.
that. But anyway, it was just a guess. Yeah. Just
Did you attend? So literally a guy shows up in a scuba outfit and he jumps in
yeah,
there and
yeah. I mean, it's just you can't do much. It's just kind of like an inspection. You just stand there like an idiot,
yeah,
But
yeah.
it was cool because I did want to observe that. It was my first time. Yeah, it was interesting.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
makes sense though.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely.
Chris.
I had this on a buyer that I have that is coming in from Texas, and was buying in Long Meadow on Wolf Swamp. And I've had it before here, but she wanted to do the sewer inspection from the house to the street. And the house had been vacant, but only for a couple weeks because the woman had passed away. Now, normally I know that sometimes it's worrisome if the house has been vacant for a year. You worry that maybe roots are growing into the sewer line. So I do know that some people have, do this test, but she wanted to do this test. So I'm like, whatever, giddy up. So she had Fletcher was going to do the test. It was like $500 to do the test, for her to do the test. The seller would not sign what Fletcher needed them to sign in order to do the test, which basically said like, hey, if something breaks while we're in there, then it's the seller's responsibility. So the seller wouldn't sign, which after going back and forth with attorneys, the seller didn't have to sign. She did still end up doing the test. She did it with Roto-Rooter. They didn't make anybody sign. So I don't know who would have been responsible had something gone bad with that one. And Roto-Rooter actually was even a little bit less expensive, but I did stand there for the test and I could see the bottom corrosion, that was in it going to the street. It was super interesting. It's making me want to do it to my own house, to be honest with you. And they did take care of it. Not the seller, but the buyer. And it was like, I don't know, $160 a foot. And they had to go out 10 feet. I mean, was it causing a problem? No, not at the moment. It wasn't. I mean, could it have been a reason for a slower drain? It could have been, yeah. But then, ironically enough, 2 weeks later, I have a listing that isn't even vacant, and the buyer wants to do a inspection. So I followed suit with, hey, this is something they want to do. You don't have to sign. I just went through it because as a seller, you are taking responsibility if you let them go down into that pipe that goes to the road. And if something snaps while they're in there because it's on the verge of snapping, then it would be the seller's responsibility at that point. And my seller did ultimately let them do it, obviously, because if you look at our contracts, it states we can do any inspection we want, because we went through that as well. It was quite the little thing going on, but it all worked out in both cases. And that's all.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So, first of all, so yeah, again, I think it's going to be contract specific. So when you look at the wording in the contract, it says the buyer has the right and the seller has to allow whatever inspections that they want to do.
All of our purchase and sales do. Yep.
So in theory, on that other transaction, the seller could not, even though Fletcher wanted to sign that, the seller had to allow that if you really wanted to push it.
They had to allow him to do it, but not take responsibility.
Okay. So, hey, we'll let you do it, but we're not signing that doc that says we're taking responsibility. If you want to take responsibility,
Correct.
then gotcha. Okay, cool. So yeah, I actually had this happen on my own property. I bought a 3-family in Westfield that hadn't been lived in. 2 of the units hadn't been lived in for like a decade. And I actually didn't do they mentioned that the drains were a little slow, but I didn't do like the street scope at purchase. And like 2 weeks after buying it, I got a couple of the units like up and running. And yeah, I had to have basically the cast iron had all like rotted out and corroded in the basement. So where they all connected together, like a $5,000 plumbing job that I hadn't expected. And then a couple of years into purchasing, I got brand new pipes and it's not draining. So now they're like, yep, it's probably between the house and the street. We can go in there with a, tool and clean it all out. And they did. And then we never had another issue after that. So I see a couple other hands up. Does anybody Lauren, were you chatting on this topic, or do you have your own?
Related topic. So for Massachusetts, yes, they do allow any inspections, as long as it's a licensed contractor and they're doing it. Our new contracts do say that. In Connecticut, you have to make sure you check all the boxes, including the other one that says any as recommended or suggested to do. And then I've only ever had one person test the sewer line, and it was a good thing we did, because they actually found that there was a leak in it and that sewage was leaking out. And so we ended up terminating, but I know that the person that ended up buying it found out, because it was recorded wherever, because they found that it was a pretty significant leak. And the homeowners from the house to the street are responsible for as well. So they ended up having to tear up the entire driveway, replacing that whole pipe, and then putting a new driveway in on that property. So one experience I had with it.
Was there something that caused like a red flag to make you guys want to do that? Were the drains, draining slowly? Like,
the inspector had noticed that the piece of the pipe that was on the interior in the basement looked pretty rough. And there was some slow drainage. So the combination of the two did trigger us to want to do the additional testing on it.
Cool. Well, good share. Linda, your hand is up. Are you regarding the same type of thing with the drains or something separate?
With the drains.
Okay, let's do it.
Yes. Okay. So about 7 years ago, I sold a beautiful home to a couple in Illinois, and Naperville is most of it is a kind of established, lots of beautiful trees that have been around for a long time. So this was a lovely established neighborhood. And about 3 years after they purchased, I got a call from my buyer saying, Linda, I need your help. My backyard exploded last night. I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, there's stuff all over the place. And it turned out that it was the pipes leading out to the sewer. And I said, well, Peter, call your insurance company right away. They don't handle this. They do not cover it. So he had to pay. I didn't even want to ask him what he had to pay to get this whole issue rectified, but it was tree roots that over the years had found their way into the system and had caused the blockage and the pressure and the explosion. So ever since then, when I've sold homes in Naperville in that aren't new construction or newer communities, I always throw that out to buyers that you might want to have this this inspection, this scoping inspection done, because we wouldn't have any idea, nor would your home inspector, what's happening between your property and the sewer. And so I think it's a really important thing for people to know about, for agents to just let their buyers be aware of. And you don't want to be an alarmist, but on the other hand, you don't want your buyer calling you and saying, they've had an explosion in their backyard or front yard. So, I was going to say something else and I forgot. Well, anyway.
That's all right. Yeah, I think that's typically, I don't know if anybody else knows of another thing that's happening with these pipes. I guess they could just corrode over old age, but the times that I've seen it on transactions, it's the roots. They'll just strangle that pipe. They'll crack down on it, crack it, and now it gets clogged. And yeah, I mean, you might have to replace a section, you might have to replace the whole run. Typically not cheap. And then, like Lauren's situation, a lot of times the darn pipe is running under what is now the driveway, so we got to redo the driveway. So it can get dicey. Martin.
I know in Westfield, I think a couple other towns, they do offer insurance policies just for those pipes from your house to the street. Just FYI.
That's like a town thing, or is it something you get added to your regular homeowners policy? Or
We received a couple notices, and I kind of looked into it for just for shits and giggles. And yeah, it's done by a separate company.
Okay.
And they're honestly, they're really not cheap either, because it is like $500-600 a year just for those pipes. And I mean, I understand it's expensive if it breaks, but it's, you got to outweigh the cost, I guess.
Yeah, I can't imagine many people spending $500 on that type of a policy. I mean, your homeowners might be $1,000, that covers everything. So,
And
Joel.
one more quick thing.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, Brian.
Something I didn't know. Well, we had a tree. We had the same issue. We had we had to do put the thing into the pipes to clear away the tree roots. But in Westfield, the tree I had was going through some power lines, and I was bugging Westfield Gas and Electric for literally 3 months to get rid of this tree. And I guess a lot of towns now have a tree czar, which I found fascinating. And I called him up and it was gone within a week. So if people have issues with trees, see if your town has a tree czar.
I know you're usually trying to joke around with us here, Martin, but I think you're being serious on this one.
Yeah, I was like, really? Like, yeah. And that's his official title, tree czar.
Yeah, I think it might have to do with preserving, some of the trees and making sure tree warden. I don't know. That's Jay's commenting that sometimes called a tree warden, but I think they're looking at preserving, our Mother Nature, and so certain trees you might not be able to do anything with. I don't know, but yeah. Anybody else want to comment on tree wardens or anything that you might have learned about that? All right, Joel, you were next.
Yes, good morning. This is a very interesting topic. Just had a quick question. As a new agent looking into this, let's say I do come across something like this. How would we bring this into the renegotiating realm in dealing with a buyer and seller for this reason? Who's responsible?
Which part? Like, you want to do the inspection, the inspection and there's issues?
Yeah, you do the inspections. To say you do the inspections, the guy says, yeah, you could run the inspections. All of a sudden, there's going to be $2,500 worth of damage or what have you. How do we put that out into renegotiating an offer or renegotiate inspection?
Yeah, no different than any other situation, right? And there's always a few different options when it comes to, hey, we discovered something. One, buyer's not going to move forward if the seller doesn't do it and pay for it. Two, buyer's just not moving forward at all. Three, buyer will move forward, but seller's got to do the work. Buyer will pay for it. Another option is, hey, we'll move forward. You got to do the work. We'll pay for half. Right. And it's all going to come down, Joel, like I say, with everything, who's got the leverage? If the property's been sitting on the market for 60 days and you're the only offer and you want those pipes fixed for $2,500, seller's probably going to do it, because the other option is, kill the deal, come back on market and take $10,000 less. Right. So you're better off taking the $2,500 hit. So yeah, it's just a conversation. Just like any other repair request, really. You got a bunch of different options that you can go with. Make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah. So Chris just put in the chat that one of the things to keep in mind that when you're having these negotiations with the listing side is, hey, look, to get a little bit of leverage, you're going to have to disclose this to the next buyer. Right. And so just because you're skirting by, if you don't want to do it for me, you're going to have to tell the next buyer, maybe the next buyer is going to be fine with it. Maybe not. So, hey, my buyer's still willing to move forward, right? We're aware of all the other issues with the house. We just want this one, right? If you come back to market, and this is the conversation I want you guys to have with the listing agent, right? Instead of just like, well, if you don't do this, we're out. Hey, that's great. You guys know you always want to kill the deal. One, you're going to have to now disclose to the next buyer. It's a material defect that could affect the value of the property. Two, is the next buyer going to be okay with all the other things that are wrong with the house? Or are they going to want the pipes fixed plus another 5,000 here or there? Right. So a lot of times staying, or I would even say most of the time, staying in the deal is probably in the best interest of the seller. If you got a ready, willing, and able buyer that's, found a couple of things at inspection. So Justin, you were next.
Yeah, just to step back quickly to the tree root situation, I just wanted to also mention, I think it was Martin that said it. It's not just a separate policy that they offer, but some companies, specifically State Farm, I know in some states, they do offer a service line endorsement that you can add on to those policies. Some of them do cover tree roots. So I always tell my clients to check with their insurance company, because it's literally just something you add on to their existing homeowner's policy. And for me, even on my personal home, I would do it. My mom and stepdad just went through this situation last month. $10,000, they had to dig everything up because the tree roots just obliterated the pipes. So it's not a small fix. And for the endorsement amount, when I was writing the policies, were, I think it was like $150 it was adding a year. So it just depends. But I know that any kind of additional insurance, in my opinion, if at least for 10 years you're in the house, it might be worth it. If not even longer, just depending on the cost of it. But it really would have saved them in this situation. And it covers the service lines leading up to the home, because typically homeowners policies just cover, the lines, everything under the existing foundation. In most cases, I should say, because I don't know every state, but in the ones that I've been in, yeah.
That's a great share, Shaston. What I think I might do is, I think a good call would be to just talk about the different insurance add-ons. Maybe we can get an insurance professional on the call and just make that a day. We just talk about all these little add-ons, because there's, my guess is, dozens of little add-ons that you can do that, most people don't realize aren't covered as part of your normal homeowner policy. So let me see if I can line that up. So great share.
And
Linda.
you mentioned backup of sewer and drain is another biggie down here, especially with septic tanks. And people don't know, most insurance companies will not automatically add that on. You have to add it on yourself, but absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Linda.
Well, I was just going to share that we had a buyer recently in downtown Naperville. It was $1 million home, and the buyer wanted to have the scope done, and the seller was just exasperated that the buyers wanted to do this. And sure enough, there were roots found in the pipes, but they weren't that far along at this moment in time. They weren't going to cause a problem, but the inspector said they most assuredly will, over time. So the seller, the buyer, of course, asked if the seller would do anything, and the seller said absolutely not. Our home is perfection, and do you want the house or don't you? And they said, oh yeah, we want the house. So, but the great news is they're informed. They have the understanding of what they're going to need to do, right? And so then there's peace of mind, and they know that down at some point in time, that's something they absolutely will have to attend to. Best to do it before, obviously, there's any issue, and they just put it on their list of things they want to do. And our buyers, we're not trying to be, troublemakers. We just want to know, you don't know what you don't know. And we want to have as much information about this home and what we're going to need to do for it as we possibly can. So we closed, and there we have it.
Good. Great share. Yep, probably. I know the inspection stuff kind of took up the call. Did anybody have something like pressing on one of their deals that you just want to throw on the table? Say, hey, I need some help with this or that. Just give an opinion on anything. Okay. I mean, we really barely got into uncommon inspections, so we're probably gonna have to spend some more time on this this week. I got a bunch of other specialized inspections that we should probably talk about. So that sounds good. We can hit some more of these this week. Why don't we just take a quick look at the learnings available today? Let me share that. Righty. So we have commercial real estate 101. We haven't seen that come up on the calendar before. So if you have any interest in doing some commercial stuff, highly recommend that one. A little social media and marketing mastermind today. High note, we've seen that on the live sessions before. Get more business with events. I love events. That'll be definitely part of what we talk about on the database stuff. And then CEO Connect and Sales Accelerator. So 6 options for live training today. As always, if you take one of those, please take notes and share with the group what you learned. So glad to be back with you guys this week. Good stuff, and let's get our weeks off to a great start. Take care. Happy Monday.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone. Have a
Take
great
care.
day.